school, knowing her as an ex-employee, and we should not be dealing personally with things with work, and he's off duty. And while I know we can't control people coming to us, the proper procedure would have been to refer him to the on-duty supervisor.
Who would have been who?
I'm not sure.
A sergeant?
A sergeant or a lieutenant. There's always a sergeant or lieutenant on duty for patrol, which is the function that he's assigned to at the time. And
So
that
if I'm a driver and I get stopped and I have a beef with the ticket and I want to complain about the officer and I call in, I should get referred to that officer, sergeant.
The on-duty supervisor. And there could be as many as 6 of them, 7 of them. There could be as little as 3 of them, unfortunately, sometimes. But there's an on-duty supervisor. And so that opinion that I provide there is based on the fact that if you're off duty, you should be referring to somebody who's on duty to, if legitimately her concern is I don't know if I got a ticket or if I got a warning, then we have people on duty that can provide that assistance.
Were you able to determine how it is that Sergeant Torres got called or got approached?
I believe he received a phone call. I can read his IDC, but I think he indicates how he got notified from Ms. Garcia. I believe he got a she briefly, I received a phone call from Ms. Erica Garcia, so I'm guessing that again, she reached out to him directly.
Okay. Yeah, and having worked here, she would know a lot of the officers, I guess.
I'm guessing.
Okay, once you complete your memos, the first one that we went over and this one that we've gone over here, that's in under tab 2B, sub 3. I mean, is that basically your role and involvement in this matter?
Yes, sir. Get it up to the chief.
Okay. I'll pass the witness at this time.
Okay.
Subject to cross.
Okay. Good morning. My name is David Willis, and I represent Lucas Torres. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Willis.
Have you and I ever met before?
No, sir.
Have you and I ever talked about this case before?
No, sir.
Over the phone or in person at all?
No, sir.
What did you do to prepare yourself for your testimony here today?
Met with Mr. Navarro briefly
When?
last week, late last week, early this week.
And for how long?
10 minutes, maybe.
Okay. You said you've been with the department for 23 years?
That's correct.
Was Lieutenant Zellers here before you, or was he hired after your arrival to the department?
I'm not sure.
Do you know if Lieutenant Zellers has been with the department for at least 20 years?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to ask you a little bit about your written testimony on that board, okay?
Yes, sir.
Would you please go back to the first item that you had written down? All right. Is that the current? Is your testimony that is the current size of this department?
What I'm speaking to is the authorized strength.
Okay.
Now, this number can fluctuate depending on vacancies and things.
All right. What was the approximate officer total for the McAllen Police Department 10 years ago? Would you think it would be 231 people?
10 years ago?
Yeah.
No, sir.
Ballpark, what do you think it was?
10 years ago, if I had to guess, maybe 5, 6 less.
Okay. How about when you started?
No idea.
Do you think that it would be 200 people on patrol?
Wouldn't be fair to know. I don't want to give a number. I don't know.
All right. In your 23 years of experience here with the McAllen Police Department, did you and Lieutenant Zellers ever serve on the same shift?
Not to my memory.
So in 20 years of service within the McAllen Police Department, you don't recall ever serving on a shift with Lieutenant Zellers?
No. I mean, we've worked together. together, but not on the same shift as a patrol shift or an investigative shift. I don't remember ever working on with.
All right. Now, you can sit down. I'll ask you some questions about your IDC, the Interdepartmental Communication. That was written in April. Is that right?
Which one are you speaking to, sir?
This is the IDC regarding the rumors case. And that, I guess, will be page 18.
Exhibit.
Page 18 of tab 3.
Your question again?
Yeah, you wrote that IDC in April, correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, you actually wrote it on April the 15th, 2014, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And you received an IDC from Guillermina Cavazos that was at least written on March 18th, 2014, correct?
Yes, it's dated March 18th.
All right. Did you receive it that day?
I don't have a date stamp on here, so I would be, the dates are typed
Yes.
on their signature.
Yes?
While their signature is written, the date is typed, so I would take it at its face value that it was done on the 18th, but I don't have to go by that.
Were you advised that Guillermina Cavazos had a possible sexual harassment complaint on March 18th, 2014? Verbally?
Verbally on March
Yeah.
18th?
Mm-hmm.
No, sir.
You didn't receive word from Lieutenant Garcia that he had a possible sexual harassment complaint on March 18th, 2014?
I don't remember that.
Would you like to review Lieutenant Garcia's IDC?
Sure. Unless you want to point me somewhere else, it says here that on 3/21, Friday, he requested that I meet with him about this matter. I don't see anything on Exhibit 20 that would indicate that he told me anything on the 18th, but that's just a quick overview.
Okay, so is it your testimony then that IDC was not presented to you until a few days after it was created?
No, that's not what I said.
All right, what are we saying then?
What am I saying is that I believe I received it on the 18th in my office.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter, on the 21st, I met with both Guillermina Cavazos and Lieutenant Mario Garcia.
When was the first time you read Guillermina Cavazos' IDC dated March 18th, 2014?
March 18th.
All right, you read it on March 18th, 2014. And therein, she alleges that Lieutenant Zellers would tell her that she was a very pretty woman, correct?
Yes.
Is there anything unclear about that statement?
Nope. As of this date, the county reports that.
And in Guillermina Cavazos' IDC dated March 18th, 2014, she also wrote that those comments were made very often, too often to the point that it became very uncomfortable for me, correct?
That's correct.
Is there anything unclear about that?
What's clear about that, I'm not sure what very often means, and I'm not sure very often of that aspect.
Okay, so you're unclear as to the number of occasions that she was told that she was a pretty woman.
Right. And I'm not very clear on what uncomfortable means. Uncomfortable, I would like some clarification on what she means by uncomfortable.
Okay. So it's your testimony here, when Guillermina Cavazos writes in March 18th, 2014, that Lieutenant Zellers made her very uncomfortable, you weren't sure what she was saying. Is that what you're testifying here?
No, I'm sure what she's saying. She's saying she's uncomfortable. I just don't know that I understand that clearly.
All right. Isn't it true that in her IDC dated March 18th, 2014, Guillermina Cavazos alleges that she noticed that Lieutenant Zellers was showing an interest in her more than just a friend would.
I hate to stop you at this point, but what page are you on?
I'm on page 23, the top paragraph.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
What is unclear of her allegation that Lieutenant Zellers was showing an interest in her more than just a friend would?
I didn't say it was unclear.
So that is a clear statement, right?
Yes.
Isn't it true that in her IDC dated March 18th, 2014, she alleges that Lieutenant Zellers claimed that he knew a lot of people and that he could get inside information on almost anything or anyone?
She says that, yes.
What's unclear about that statement?
Nothing.
Isn't it also true that in her IDC dated March 18th, 2014, she says that Lieutenant Zellers knew that she had been selected even before she had been notified by training personnel that she had been selected for the 40th Academy at the McAllen Police Department?
She says that.
What's unclear about that allegation?
I didn't say it's unclear.
Is it also true that in her IDC dated March 18th, 2014, she says that while she was at the academy, she was getting annoyed by the amount of texts that were being sent to her by Lieutenant Zellers?
She does say that.
What's unclear about that? Nothing's unclear about that allegation, is it?
No, I mean, I'm not sure here. In reading this, I'd like to know how many texts are being sent. If you're in an academy people aren't allowed to have phones. How is this disturbing you if you're not? I mean, I would want to know, just so it could be a little bit clearer to me, but it's clear what she's saying. Yeah.
Is her allegation clear to you?
That she's receiving texts?
That she received texts from Lieutenant Zellers
That is
that were
clear.
annoying her while
Yes.
she was at the academy?
That's clear to me.
And then she also told you, wrote in her IDC dated March 18th, 2014, that she feels that Lieutenant Zellers is obsessed with her and that he's trying to get back at her by looking into her sick leave and possibly having her disciplined. She writes that to you, does she not? Or writes that in her IDC, right?
Here, what paragraph is that, please?
Let me actually back that up then. On page 24.
Okay.
Isn't it true that she writes to you and says that she feels that she is being targeted, discriminated against, and harassed by Lieutenant Zellers?
She does write that.
Is there anything unclear about that allegation?
It's clear what you've stated.
How about the allegation that she has here in her IDC on page 24 that Lieutenant Zellers' action have created a hostile working environment for her? Is there anything unclear about her allegation?
It's what she's saying is clear to me.
So, all of those allegations that I just ran through with you, you say are clear to you, right?
I say what she's saying is
Yes.
clear. I understand what she's saying.
Okay, you understood what she was alleging, right?
And those particular ones, yes.
Okay. You had questions then that would go counter to her allegations, right?
I wouldn't say counter.
Well, you said that she had an allegation that about very often these comments would be made to the point that it became uncomfortable, right? And you had a question about the word often.
Right. I would like to know what often is he.
So,
But that's not against it. It's clarifying, at least in my opinion.
all right. And isn't it also true that on page 23, 4, on the fourth paragraph down, she writes in her IDC that Sergeant David Cavazos made a statement to her and told her that Lieutenant Zellers was claiming that he, Lieutenant Zellers, and she, Guillermina Cavazos, had a relationship in the past and that she had dumped him.
She does say that.
She says that. Is that unclear to you?
What is unclear is she says, I can't recall the exact date. I know I wanted to know what date when did this happen?
But the allegation, though, is clear.
Her allegation is clear that a third party has told her that a second party has told her that a third party has said something. That is absolutely clear.
In her IDC, she denies ever having a relationship with Lieutenant Zellers, right?
I don't remember her saying she'd never had. Can you point me to that?
Well, did she ever say that she,
No, I'm just answering yours. You said she had said she never had. I don't remember her ever denying it.
Okay.
She never said she did either, but she never denied it as you questioned.
all right, let me ask you this then. Did she deny that she was ever sexually interested in Lieutenant Zellers? That was found on page 23, the last
Right.
paragraph.
No, she says she had a professional relationship with him.
No, but let's go to the last sentence.
Of that paragraph?
The last paragraph, page 23.
I would like to state that I am not, and I haven't been sexually interested. That's correct.
Now, in her IDC, she made clear that Sergeant David Cavazos said that Lieutenant Zellers told him that Lieutenant Zellers and she were had a relationship in the past and that she dumped him, correct?
That's what she says, yes.
Did you ask or order Sergeant David Cavazos to produce an IDC in this case?
No, sir, I didn't see anything on here that indicates that he responded, so therefore it was probably not directed by me.
You did you?
I don't believe I did.
And you read all this on March 18th, 2014, correct? And so then you had a meeting with Guillermina Cavazos. Was it in your office?
Yes,
And that was on March 21st, 2014?
that's correct.
And you had a meeting with Guillermina Cavazos and her lieutenant, right?
That's correct.
Now, who's her lieutenant?
At that time, it was Lieutenant Mario Garcia.
Why'd you have to have another person in that room?
I just have the practice of always having someone present when I'm going to interview. That's just something I do.
Are you familiar with the McAllen Police Department rules, regulations, and policy manual?
Yes, sir?
Is there a particular provision that governs the allegation of harassment in the workplace?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you agree with me that's found on section 66?
I'd have to look at the tab.
All right. May I approach the witness?
Sure.
Let me show you what I'm going to mark as appellant exhibit number 1.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you're marking that as grievance
number
number
one.
1?
Yes, that's section 66.
Okay, so you agree with me that section 66 of the McAllen Police Department Rules, Regulations, and Policy Manual, I'll call it from here on out the manual, if that's okay,
That's fine.
governs allegations of harassment in the workplace, right?
That's correct.
What is your understanding of what sexual harassment means? What is your understanding?
Actions, comments that are unwelcome by the person.
Okay.
That can be derogatory or sexual in nature, just a real layman's.
Okay? And actually, section 66 of the manual, subsection 3, subsection A, subsection 3, this is page, I guess, 381 of Appellant's Exhibit 1. That's the very first page there. Gives you a series of examples, correct? And one of those is the submission to conduct is made either explicitly or implicitly a term of condition or employment, right?
Yes.
Or like on subsection C there, that such conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an employee's work performance or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment, right?
That's correct.
What are your
Sir,
responses?
let me lodge an objection to the line of questioning in the respect that I don't have a problem with him answering questions about what the policy says, but the council's assuming facts that really have not been determined in the record, which is that there is in fact harassment conduct by Zellers that has been established in the record. What we have is an officer complaining about him based on, 1, 2, 3 levels of hearsay. Her own memo indicates that what she is hearing or believing, she's not getting from direct contact with Zellers. She's getting it second, third hand. So the line of questioning is assuming that because in her memo she is saying, I heard from this person that this other person had heard this from Zellers, is assuming that that the officer has in fact engaged in this conduct. And I just, I want to be clear with the record that what we're talking about here is that this captain is at the very preliminary stages of processing a complaint that, as he previously testified, needs to be clarified as to time, place, evidence and proof. So I want to lodge an objection to a line of questioning that presumes that these facts are established by the memo itself, which it doesn't.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that this harassment, whatever it is, section 66 presumes that harassment has taken place. And gives a definition of it, goes through all of that. If it hadn't taken place, then there's no meaning to it. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to read it
Okay.
the way I see it and the way it comes out in terms of how it's printed, and then make a decision as to which way I want to go with it. I've already told you my feeling is that if you're putting in an exhibit that has to do with harassment, you better have harassment someplace.
I'll just respond to Mr. Navarro's objections. I think that this man has testified that he read an interdepartmental communication that says that Guillermina Cavazos says that Lieutenant Zellers told her that she was a very pretty woman, said it often enough to make her uncomfortable, that he was interested in her more than just a friend. He also alleged that he knew more people, that he knew a lot of people, and he could get inside information that on almost anyone or anyone. And that he also had previous knowledge about her acceptance or not acceptance into the academy, and that also she was annoyed by the number of text messages he got, and that David Cavazos had told her previously that Lieutenant Zellers had been saying that they were in a previous relationship. And so, based on that, I'm submitting this as a document and evidence. I'm not asking for a finding that Lieutenant Zellers sexually harassed.
You're making it a conditioned. You're saying that if this applies, or if we agree with what she said, from your standpoint, then this would apply. If he didn't agree with what she said, or didn't think he had enough to go ahead and support harassment, then you can't apply harassment if there isn't any proved.
I'll continue on. Now, what is your responsibility as a supervisor when you receive an IDC that alleges sexual harassment?
To properly document and report up the chain of command.
All right. Let me refer you to, again, Appellant's Exhibit number 1. And this will be, what is marked here is page 382, which turns out to be section 66, subsection 3, A, B, 1. Little b,
I'm sorry, go 3A,
Roman numeral 3, capital A, capital, I'm sorry, capital B, number 1, section little b.
okay.
What are you supposed to do as a supervisor when you receive a interdepartmental communication that alleges sexual harassment?
Make sure that it doesn't continue, and make sure that it gets forwarded up the chain of command.
All right. And how about in capital B, subsection number 2? What is your responsibility?
Assist the employee, documenting and filing such information, again, forwarding the IDCs up the chain of command.
All right, and you are an employee of the department?
That's correct.
So how about in subsection B3, little c?
Each employee then is responsible for assisting in the prevention of harassment to the following acts, and encouraging any employee who confides that he is being harassed to report these acts to a supervisor.
Okay, so you're supposed to encourage any employee who confides that he or she is being harassed to report these things. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. So when you received an interdepartmental communication from Guillermina Cavazos that alleges that she was receiving improper communications or text while she was at the academy, that she felt intimidated or she felt uncomfortable with the comments that he was making, that he seemed to imply that he had knowledge that most people don't. Did you encourage her to file an interdepartmental communication?
I didn't have a conversation with her when I read that. I had a conversation with her on the 21st.
Okay, on the 21st, right? So you called her in, right?
Right.
And you called her in after you've already read the IDC, right?
Right.
And you called in the lieutenant, right? And then you tell her that Lieutenant Zellers has the right to look into your timesheets, right?
That's not all I tell her. What I tell her, I'm asking, what is the concern with him looking into your timesheets?
Well, no, but you did tell her, though. You stated affirmatively that Lieutenant Zellers has the authority to look into your timesheets. Did you not?
I don't remember saying that. I remember saying that he's within her chain of command, and that in the chain of command, he has the authority to look at her sick leave.
If your job in evaluating an inquiry is just to take it in and push it up, why would you challenge her on that portion?
Well, some of these things that you're making note of that happened, they happened back when she was in the academy, and that was some time back. There had been some sexual harassment training that they'd gone through in the academy. There was an opportunity for her to report. I need to, what is this before, what is this after? There's a lot of questions that I had on her IDC about the time frame that had happened between then. These comments about, I've got a lot of pull to get you in. This is not now, this was then. Texts that are uncomfortable, was that uncomfortable 2 years ago? When I just had a lot of questions that I wanted to find out. In that process of asking those questions, I find out almost immediately, these are not my words. So to me, I'm kind of in a, okay, I'm cognizant of what's all back here in this report and all the things that are said and the concerns that you brought. But when she says these are not my words, I've been coached on this, then I'm trying to figure out, was this harassing behavior to you 2 years ago? Is it now? What do we need to do? Part of the responsibility that I have in this policy is to see what do we have here so that we can take the proper steps. What I'm getting here on this IDC is actions that she's saying that bothered her. Absolutely, I'm not doubting that. What I'm trying to put is the pieces together. Did this happen 2 years ago, or is this now? Because you were in the academy, and I'm using 2 years just as an example, because I don't have the exact dates of when this actually happened, and that's part of the thing, is I needed to know, when did this happen? How did we get from that to this? I'm trying to sort that out when she tells me, you know what, those aren't even my words. Well, that throws me in a different quandary, because you're not even, who's telling me this then? So does this policy apply? I'm not sure if it's not her words.
So you were taking then, at that point then, an investigatory role into the merits of her allegations?
No, sir. I'm inquiring as to, you're telling me, I need to, who am I going to question about this? Am I going to question academy staff? Am I going to get writings from her supervisor then? Am I going to get responses from, I have to try to figure out where, am I going to present an incident to the chief that happened 2 years, and again, some time frame back or now? So I'm not investigating, I'm not, you know what, let me subpoena your record to see how many texts you got. That's an investigation in my view. I'm asking, where did this happen? How did this happen? Let's try to get to the bottom of this. When I find out those aren't my words, that for me is, whoa, okay, so that to some degree, if they're not your words, removes me from the concerns of you may be harassed, because you're telling me they're not your words. So then I try to go sit down, give me in your words, as indicated, what you have here. That happened on the 21st.
Who's responsible for investigating allegations of sexual harassment?
I would guess that OPR and the city of McAllen.
Okay. And I'll refer you then to page 383 of section 66 of the manual. And that'll be on item 4 of that sheet.
Yes, sir.
So is your testimony here then that you conducted no investigation into the merits of Guillermina Cavazos' allegation of sexual harassment in her IDC dated March 18th?
That is absolutely my testimony. I am merely trying to inquire as to what these allegations are. I am not conducting an investigation.
Okay. Now, you ordered Lieutenant Zellers to give you an IDC, right?
That's correct.
And you ordered Javier Coronado to give you an IDC, right? What was the purpose of that if you're not conducting an investigation?
As I mentioned earlier, my purpose in that is to try to present everyone's initial response to the chief, trying to get them closer to everybody's response.
How's that not an investigation?
An investigation leads me to not only ask you questions, but either prove them or disprove them. I'm not here to disprove anybody's or to prove anybody's.
Well, when you make a statement then that you could not make a decision as to whether or not Lieutenant Zellers spread rumors, you made a determination, did you not?
Actually, I believe what I said was that I was unable to determine. It's my opinion that I can't. I don't have anything here.
Determining is either proving or disproving, right?
Policy violation is not guilty or not guilty. It's my what I find in this.
What are you supposed to do when you disagree with the contents of an IDC?
Disagree with them?
Yes.
It's not my place to agree or disagree on an inquiry with someone who is reporting something. I don't have anything to agree or disagree with. If it's not clear, if it's not, then I will ask for clarification.
May I approach the witness? Let me show you what I'm going to mark as compelling exhibit number 2. Ever seen what I've marked as compelling exhibit number 2?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, what are we looking at?
This will be section 10.
Section 10?
Section 10.
3, that's 2.
Well, what I've marked as appellant exhibit number 2? Do you know what it is that I've marked as
Yes, sir.
exhibit? What is it?
It is Section 10 of the McAllen Police Department, Policies and Procedures, Interdepartmental Communications.
All right. Now, isn't it true that a supervisor receiving an IDC and not agreeing with its contents is supposed to write a report in writing explaining your reasons why, or the reasons for not agreeing with the contents of the IDC?
That's what the policy says.
So again, my question to you is, what are you supposed to do as a supervisor when you don't agree with the contents of an IDC?
Well, IDCs are used for communication, all types of communications.
Yes?
This is a serious, can be potentially serious allegation, knowing that OPR is the only one that's gonna do investigations. I don't look at it as agree or disagree. And, it's not my intent to not follow policy in that, it's my intent to gather information for that. So if I disagreed or agreed with something, that's not the role I'm taking.
In the end of your IDC dated April the 15th, 2014, you did make an opinion. You did make a determination that Sergeant Todes violated department policy by failing to report potential misconduct and discrediting a supervisor, right?
I provided my opinion. I don't believe I disagreed or agreed or
No, you made a
determined.
determination, right?
No, a determination is final, I think. This is my opinion. The determination whether a policy violation occurred will be made by the chief of police, not by me. I don't have the position, the authority, or the power to determine if someone violated department policy. I can provide my opinion or my view on it, but the determination would fall on the chief of police.
You just said that the allegations that you read in Guillermina Cavazos IDC dated March 18th, 2014 were potentially a serious set of allegations.
Absolutely.
And in her IDC, she makes mention of Javier Coronado,
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Michael Zellers,
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Lucas Torres, and Sergeant David Cavazos, right?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you get an IDC from David Cavazos?
As this is processing out, as I get this first one, I've got concerns, and although I can't tell you honestly that right now I was thinking I'm going to get one from David, I know that when the tide changed, when it's no longer, it's not my words, and I say, go ahead and go sit down and write your own writing what your complaint is, the complaint that comes back is not a sexual harassment now. It's a rumors. And the rumors, and that kind of, in my view, invalidated the conversation that was happening about he liked her. That was the harassment thing. Now we're talking about the rumors. And I asked for IDCs on the people that I thought were relevant to the rumors.
All right, let me stop you there then. So at that point then, the focus of your inquiry then related to whether or not someone was spreading rumors, right?
The inquiry, yes.
Yeah. What is the rumor that you were looking into to determine whether or not it actually is sufficient enough to go up the chain of command?
It's not my, first of all, there's not a threshold that I'm going to determine it goes or doesn't go. They're all going to go to the chief of police, regardless if it's a tiny rumor or a tremendous rumor. It's not my place to determine if it's worthy of seeing or the chief's attention.
What's the rumor you were looking into?
The rumor that she presented.
What is that?
That Mike Zellers is presenting rumors about, he said that Sergeant Torres
No, no,
had
no.
said, well, I
What is the
mean,
rumor?
I'd have to look at it.
Go ahead.
If you're going to want,
Yeah.
let me look back at her second IDC.
No,
the
no,
one that she comes
according to
back.
the first. What is the rumor that you're going to look into?
No, the first one didn't have-
You can't
Wait a
pigeon-
minute. You want to get your question in line so that we know what it is he's supposed to be answering?
What is the rumor you were looking into when you read her IDC dated March 18th, 2014?
Well, objection. I mean, he's already said that he asked for clarification of that memo. He wants to treat that as a final finding memo, and his witnesses testified that he said, I asked for a clarification on it after she disavowed that memo.
All right. Either one. What is the rumor that you're looking
No, it's
into?
not either. He made a clear objection, I think, in terms of what it is you're asking him to provide. I think he's testified in here several times, if I'm not mistaken, that the reason that he had problems with this particular statement was that he didn't think that she had written it. And she had told him, if I remember right, that those weren't her words necessarily. Now, I don't know how you get around that, but that's where we're sitting at this point. And applying that apparently to some of the well, some of the, what do we call these things? Interdepartmental communication, I guess. Anyway, with that in mind, why don't you go ahead and reframe, come up with your question.
All right. After you had a meeting with Guillermina Cavazos and her lieutenant on March the 21st, 2014, you ordered her to do what?
To, in your writing, provide me an IDC with what your complaint is.
All right. Did she do that?
Yes, sir.
And
It's dated March 21st, as I read it here,
she did it that same day, correct?
the 25th. Yes, sir.
She did it on the 25th or the 21st?
It's exhibit number 25. It is dated 3/21/2014. Specifically, the second paragraph, my complaint is not about Lieutenant Zellers looking into my sick leave. My complaint is about finding out that Lieutenant Zellers has been saying to certain people from the department that we were in a relation, that I had dumped them. I would
Okay.
like to make it clear. And so that's where we get into, how did you find that out? Okay, I got it from Sergeant Coronado told me that Torres told him. And that's how I start trying to inquire about that rumor that was discussed between Sergeant Torres and Sergeant Coronado, which had previously been discussed, obtained from Lieutenant Zellers, or at least alleged to receive from Lieutenant Zellers to Sergeant Torres.
I want to make sure I have this clear.
Yes, sir.
Is the rumor then that you looked into is whether or not Lieutenant Zellers has been saying to certain people from this department that we were in a relationship and that I dumped him?
No, not specifically that wording, was he spreading rumors? I didn't limit myself, I wasn't going to limit him, I wanted to give him the opportunity to tell me, the complaint here, as you read it, finding out that he's been saying, to me, I focused on the saying things versus I actually dumped him, because that can, if he didn't say that, it was still important to me to find out if Lieutenant Zellers was saying things that shouldn't be said.
But is this sentence found on page 25 in the IDC that Guillermina Cavazos wrote on March 21st, 2014, what you investigated? And that is, my complaint is about finding out that Lieutenant Zellers has been saying to certain people from this department that we were in a relationship and that I dumped him.
Yes, which I consider to be rumors.
That's what you looked into,
Right,
right?
yes, sir.
And if you go down to the paragraph just underneath it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down, all the way to the right where it says, this is the second, right? It alleges that Sergeant David Cavazos told her that Lieutenant Zellers told him that very thing.
Yes, sir.
So why didn't you get an IDC from David Cavazos?
I have no idea.
You ordered Lieutenant Zellers to give you an IDC, right?
Yes, sir.
What did you tell Lieutenant Zellers to respond to?
Rumors that were spread between things that he had told Sergeant Torres regarding this, about him saying that he had dumped her, that they'd had a relationship. I don't remember verbatim what I told him, but it was alleging, I wanted him to answer to, they're saying you said some statements about having a relationship with her, that you're spreading rumors, that you had this conversation with Sergeant Torres. I need you to give me the response to it.
Did you mention Guillermina Cavazos' name to Lieutenant Zellers saying, respond to this?
Yes.
Did you tell Lieutenant Zellers, respond to the allegation that you had told Sergeant David Cavazos that you were in a previous relationship with Guillermina Cavazos?
I don't recall that.
Did you tell Lieutenant Zellers that David Cavazos allegedly had said that Lieutenant Zellers had said that she had dumped him?
Ask that again, please.
Did you tell Lieutenant Zellers to respond to the allegation that that Lieutenant Zellers had said to David Cavazos that they were in a previous relationship?
I told him to answer to any rumors. I can't honestly tell you now with the time that's passed that I told him specifically for this one. I know that I reviewed it with him, told him you need to answer to this.
Did you instruct or order Lieutenant Zellers to respond to the allegation that David Cavazos said that Lieutenant Zellers had told him that he, Lieutenant Zellers, was dumped by Guillermina Cavazos?
I don't remember that.
Let me refer you then to Mike Zeller's IDC. And that's found on page 34. You see that document? In Lieutenant Zeller's IDC to you, this is what he wrote in response to your order to provide a written response, right?
That's correct.
And he says here on the very first line that you were ordered to respond to Officer Guillermina Cavazos' allegation that he is singling her out in some way and/or spreading rumors about her, right?
That's what he writes.
And this is on March the 27th, 2014, right?
That's correct.
And you also testified that after your March 21st, 2014 meeting, you had already gotten past this idea that he was targeting her for some sort of sick leave violation, and you were focusing on the rumors, right?
After I received her second response, her second notification, or whatever we're titling that, when she responded after the document, after she said it wasn't her writing.
Yeah, she did that on March the 21st.
Yeah, and I focused on the rumors.
Okay, but then on March 27th, he's still talking about the sick leave allegation.
Yeah, I can't answer why he wrote that.
All right. In anywhere in Lieutenant Zeller's response to your direct order to give a written response, does he address whether or not he told Sergeant David Cavazos that he, Lieutenant Zellers, was in a relationship with Guillermina Cavazos?
When he says, nor am I spreading any rumors about anyone, that pretty much includes anything that he would have said to anyone. So
He does not directly respond to the allegation that David Cavazos heard from Lieutenant Zellers that he was in a relationship with Guillermina Cavazos, does he?
I think he addresses it, but to make your point, again, to the investigation, if I was investigating, I might counter that or try to prove it, but I'm not investigating. I'm collecting.
Is it in the response to your order? Did he address that allegation?
I gave him an order to respond to the rumors, and he has.
How many times has he actually responded? He has one sentence in here, doesn't he?
Yes, sir.
And it says, I was in no way singling any employee out, nor am I spreading any rumors about anyone, right?
That's correct.
That's the only time he mentions the word rumors in the entire document, save and except for the very first introductory sentence, right?
Yes, sir.
So he makes no response to you as far as the allegations that David Cavazos heard things from Lieutenant Zellers, right? This is about the relationship.
Right, well, right.
His entire IDC relates to a timesheet or a sick leave abuse situation, right?
That's correct.
How is that not insubordination?
I don't even see that being in the same ballpark, sir, to be quite frank with you.
You tell him to respond to allegations that he's spreading rumors about her, right?
I tell him to answer several questions based on
What
her.
were those questions?
Objection, can the witness be allowed to answer these questions?
Yeah, we've gone through this now, 2 hours? Maybe 2.5 hours? And I think we've covered pretty much all of the grounds there. Unless you got something new, I'd like to have us move along.
Did you show Lieutenant Zeller's Guillermina Cavazos IDC?
Probably. I don't remember doing it, but I probably do. I believe people need to see what they're going to have to answer to. If it would be, it would have been only the second one, which is the one that she comes in with, he's targeting me because he's asking about my sick leave, and he's spreading rumors about me. This is not, I mean, he needs to be given everyone needs to be given an opportunity to answer as accurately as they can.
If you didn't give him any specifics to which to respond to, how would he respond accordingly?
I did give him specific. I just indicated that I let him see the IDC where she's making her allegations. He can take his notes, he can do whatever he needs to respond to that. And I think that's the basis why he's coming back and saying, I'm not singling her out. That's why he spent so much time on, I'm checking into her sick leave with the acting lieutenant. I'm letting him know that I've had these problems. And that's why there's so much time, because he's responding to her IDC. It's her statement. And when it gets to the rumors, I'm sorry that it didn't mean more of it, but in my opinion, he addressed it. I'm not spreading any rumors about anybody. I don't know how.
In your IDC, you make mention that you met with Sergeant Lucas Totus, right?
Yes, sir.
And you also then say that you had Lucas Totus provide an IDC in response to one of your orders, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you also said that Sergeant Totus makes no mention of what Sergeant Coronado allegedly said. I'm sorry, you make no mention of what Sergeant Coronado says that Sergeant Totus said, right?
Sir, could we get a reference to
Yeah,
whatever
could I-
he's reading?
What page are you on? Exhibit what?
This will be
Exhibit 36?
page 19.
Page 19, okay.
Is that Exhibit 36 at the bottom?
No, it's page 19.
I believe it's
Okay. Let me-
Your
Captain's
IDC.
Okay, my IDC, okay.
Captain's IDC.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And on the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, I met with directing and providing information on the potential, yes.
On the fifth paragraph down from the top.
Okay.
You then say Sergeant Totus makes no mention of what Sergeant Coronado says. What says was said, right?
That's correct.
I'm going to refer you to page 37. And that's Sergeant Lucas Totus's IDC. Did Sergeant Totus make mention of what Sergeant Coronado says was said in his IDC?
Okay, now I was reading mine now. Your question is, again?
Did Sergeant Totus in his IDC make mention of what Sergeant Coronado says was said, to use your words?
I'm trying to rush through this.
Sure. How about you take a look at page 37 in the last paragraph there.
Okay.
He did mention what he told Sergeant Coronado then, didn't he?
This is on the 18th. This is after the initial? Is that,
I'm comparing your IDC to the IDC Sergeant Totus wrote. And your IDC says that Sergeant Totus didn't make any mention about what he said to Coronado, right?
right.
And then if you look at page 37, which is Sergeant Totus' IDC, on the last paragraph, he does say what he told Coronado.
No.
I'm
He
gonna
says,
object to a
I tell
mischaracterization.
Sergeant Coronado this. I tell Sergeant Coronado. What I said is, he doesn't tell me, doesn't address what Sergeant Coronado is saying. Sergeant Coronado said, my statement here is, Sergeant Torres makes no mention of what Sergeant Coronado says was said. In other words, he's not talking about what Coronado is saying, spreading these, Torres told me this. He's just simply saying, I felt the need to tell him that day.
How about when Sergeant Torres says, I felt the need to inform Sergeant Coronado of Lieutenant Zeller's views and somewhat personal concerns, especially since Lieutenant Zeller's made it a point to describe their, quote, prior dating relationship with Officer Cavazos.
But the question was, the issue here is, he says he's probably jealous because of you. Those things, there's a reference in here about jealousy. This is what Sergeant Coronado says. Sergeant Coronado says, Torres told me he's probably jealous about this. When Sergeant Torres writes his response, he says, I was forthcoming and I told him all of this. But there is no conversation about, wait a minute, okay, but Sergeant Coronado is saying you said he was jealous. Is there any of that? No, it's I told him this and I was upfront about what had happened. That's what my statement is referring to. Not that it's wrong, right, or indifferent. I'm saying he doesn't address the jealousy aspect. In other words, the point here was that you told another sergeant the reason he's doing these things is because he's jealous. So now you're telling me, well, I went and talked to him about these issues, but you still haven't told me, did that jealousy conversation gone on? What did he say? Why is he saying this? I'm giving you your chance to explain why he's saying you said he was jealous. And he doesn't. He just says, I told him what I knew.
So when you wrote your IDC in April, you thought that Sergeant Torres' response to your order was insufficient?
No. No, or I'm just I'm answering you what you're asking me about. Why did he say this? I don't believe, in my view, when I say he makes no mention of what Sergeant Coronado, I stand by that. He doesn't discuss the jealousy aspect. I'm not saying that it's inadequate or too much or too little. What I'm saying is he doesn't mention it. That's all I'm saying here.
Could you have ordered Sergeant Torres to amend his IDC to include the response to that allegation?
I guess I could have ordered him, but I don't order them because, again, I'm conducting an inquiry. I'm giving him an opportunity to say what happens. This can be a question brought later on by somebody else, or they can choose not to ask it. I'm just telling you what I have found. This is, so far, it's not for me to sit there and say, hey, wait a minute, this is a T and you said it was an I. That's more along the lines of an investigation. You say it's a T, somebody else said it was an I. Let me present this to the chief and he can sort this out.
Regarding the changed seatbelt ticket on May the 27th, 2014, isn't it true that the entire IDC process was done pursuant to the order of Lieutenant Michael Zellers?
I'm sorry, pursuant to the, I don't understand that question.
Sure. Regarding the ticket case, isn't it true that the promulgation, the creation of the IDC of Domingo Reyes and Moises Garcia was done pursuant to the order of Lieutenant Michael Zellers?
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe he placed an order. I think the reason that came to us is because Sergeant Torres called an officer that was on duty and asked him to change the ticket. That was brought to my attention and I had them formalize that. I think what brought it to IDCs was the fact that it happened. Lieutenant Zellers is a lieutenant under my supervision, and I could have directed him to go out and get these for me. I'm not going to, that's obvious in the chain of command, but that it's because he ordered it or self-initiated, that's what I'm understanding.
I refer you to tab 3 on that notebook.
Yes, sir.
So the second case,
This is the ticket case.
okay?
Is this tab, this is,
Go
I'm
to
sorry.
2B and then go to 3.
2B3?
2B3,
okay.
page 19.
Yes, sir.
Would you please read that to yourself?
Okay.
Lieutenant Zellers had Domingo Reyes and Moises Garcia write those IDCs, did he not?
Yes.
Let me ask you this. You reviewed the IDC of Moises Garcia dated May the 27th, 2014, prior to the promulgation of your own IDC regarding the ticket case, right?
It's dated 5/27, and mine is dated 6/16, so yes.
Yeah. And so, yes, you did?
Yes, I did.
And you also read the IDC of Domingo Reyes, which is found on page 21, dated May the 27th, 2014.
Yes, sir.
So you had those three, you had Lieutenant Zellers, you had Domingo Reyes, and you had Moises Garcia's IDCs in your possession, and you reviewed them prior to promulgating your own IDCs.
I'm sorry, was there a question on the table, or is that?
They asked him if he had it in his possession prior to his promulgation
Okay, I missed that.
of the IDC.
I think he answered that question. Didn't he answer that question?
Yes. I wasn't saying
No,
that.
didn't.
Yes.
Are you ready to go to the next question?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll pass the witness.
No further questions.
Okay. Thank you.
My excuse?
We'll take a short break, so.
Yes, we can. And I'm going to make a statement here. It's a general statement of my feelings when we're doing a hearing and whatnot, and that is, I can read as well as the next person. So I don't think we need to put something through a long, tedious discussion if you can get the point out just by reading the, whatever it happens to be, whether it's an IDC or whether it's a complaint or whatever it is. In the final analysis, quite honestly, when I'm back at my office and I get a brief and I get the transcript and everything else, that's basically what happens anyway. So anyway, that's just a thought of mine as we go through the session. Okay, let's take, what do you want, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
My excuse, sir?
10 minutes, if you don't mind.
You want?
10 minutes.
Stay here, do you need these back?
Are we gonna work through lunch also?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I'd say no, but at this point, you're pushing me to walk to Dallas from here. You probably wouldn't care.
Okay. Can we get some, do you want us to order a sandwich for you or something? We can do that if you wish.
No, I'm fine.
Actually, for everybody if you want.
I'm good, thanks.
You sure?
Do you do many of these cases?